The sun was shining brightly on the Sunday morning when little Lily and her mom, Sarah, arrived at the town's weekend market. The market was always a happy place, full of colors, smells of fresh bread and fruits, and the sound of people chatting and laughing. Sarah held Lily's hand as they walked past stalls of handmade crafts, vegetables, and baked goods. Lily, who was only 8 years old, was excited to get her favorite treat, a warm croissant from the local bakery stall. She wore her favorite blue dress and a beaded bracelet with a purple heart charm, one she had made with her mom during craft night. Sarah smiled as she watched her daughter talk excitedly to the friendly baker, a man named Mr. Rowland, who gave Lily an extra croissant for being the best customer. As they moved on to another stall, Sarah let go of Lily's hand for just a moment to pay for some flowers. When she turned around, Lily was gone. At first, Sarah thought Lily had just wandered off to look at something nearby, like the candy stand or the puppy adoption corner. She called out, "Lily? Lily, sweetie?" and began walking around the stalls, peeking between people. But Lily didn't answer. Within minutes, panic spread through Sarah's chest. She ran from one end of the market to the other, shouting Lily's name, asking vendors and customers if they had seen a little girl in a blue dress. No one had. Some remembered seeing her earlier, holding the basket of croissants, but no one had noticed where she went. The police were called, and soon the market was shut down as officers searched every corner, questioned every vendor, and reviewed the limited camera footage from nearby stores. It was like Lily had vanished into thin air. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Flyers with Lily's smiling face were posted all over town. Her story was shared on the news and social media. People from the town and nearby cities joined search teams, looking through forests, abandoned buildings, and rivers. Sarah never gave up. Every morning, she woke up hoping for a call that her daughter had been found. She kept Lily's room exactly the way it was, with stuffed animals on the bed and drawings on walls. The only thing she held on to at all times was a photo of Lily and a matching bracelet she wore on her own wrist, one just like Lily's, with a purple heart charm. 2 years passed. People stopped talking about the case as much, and new stories came and went. But Sarah still went to Sunday market every week, quietly walking around, eyes always scanning, ears always listening. She passed by the same bakery stall every time, though she had stopped by anything from it. Mr. Rowland still worked there, smiling at customers like nothing had ever happened. Sarah didn't know what to think of him. He had been kind to Lily, but what if he knew more than he said? She never had proof. Life moved on, but Sarah's heart remained stuck in that one moment she turned and found her daughter missing. Then one Sunday, nearly 2 years to the day since Lily vanished, Sarah was at a small bakery in a nearby town she hadn't visited before. She didn't plan to stop, but the smell of fresh bread pulled her in. She bought a simple loaf of sourdough, wrapped in brown paper, and carried it home. That night, as she sliced the bread for dinner, her knife hit something hard inside the loaf. Confused, she pulled it out. Her hands shook. It was a bracelet, purple and blue beads, with a single purple heart charm. Sarah dropped the knife, staring at it, her mouth open. It was Lily's bracelet, the one she had made, the one she had been wearing the day she disappeared. Sarah couldn't believe her eyes. Her heart pounded so loudly it echoed in her ears. She held the small bracelet in her trembling hands, carefully running her fingers across the purple heart charm, just to be sure it was real. It wasn't just similar, it was Lily's. She remembered the exact day they made it together, sitting at the kitchen table with a bead kit from the craft store. Lily had picked the purple heart herself and insisted on using the uneven blue and pink beads. There was no way it could be a coincidence. Sarah stared at the loaf of bread on the counter. It looked ordinary on the outside, golden brown, crusty, fresh. But hidden inside had been this precious clue, like a secret message baked into it just for her. Her mind raced. How did Lily's bracelet get into this loaf? What bakery had made it? She still had the paper bag it came in. Her fingers scrambled to smooth it out. The logo on the front said La Petite Grange, Artisan Breads, with a small address below. Sarah recognized the town name. It was about 40 minutes from where she lived, just over the hills. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her keys, the bracelet, and the bag, and drove straight there. Her heart beat with both fear and hope. Could this be the clue she'd been waiting for after 2 long years? When Sarah arrived at La Petite Grange, the shop was already closing for the day. She banged on the door until a young woman with flour on her apron came to the window. "Sorry, we're closed," she said kindly, but Sarah held up the bracelet. "Please," she begged, tears in her eyes. "I need to talk to whoever made this bread." The woman looked at the bracelet, confused, but let Sarah inside. The warm smell of baking filled the air, and the back room was lined with shelves of cooling loaves and dough rising in bowls. An older man appeared from the kitchen. He wore a white apron and a soft cap, and looked surprised to see a customer this late. Sarah showed him the loaf, the sliced piece, and the bracelet. "This came from your bread. My daughter wore this when she disappeared 2 years ago." The baker's face changed. He stared at the bracelet, then at Sarah. "You're Lily's mother?" he asked softly. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "You know my daughter?" she whispered. The man nodded slowly, glancing toward the back room. "She was here. She worked with us, but we didn't know she was missing. She never told us her full name." Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Where is she now?" she asked, barely able to speak. The man looked away. "She ran away again about a month ago. We don't know why. She just left a note and disappeared. But she was here. That bracelet. She always wore it. I guess it fell into the dough. We bake by hand, so sometimes things get missed." He rubbed the back of his neck, clearly troubled. "She never said anything about being taken or hurt. We thought she was just a runaway with nowhere to go. She told us her name was Lily, but never gave more." Sarah felt like the air had been knocked out of her. Lily had been alive, working in a bakery, and now she was gone again. The hope that had flared in her chest flickered uncertainly. But now, she had something, a place to start, a trail to follow. "Do you have anything else of hers?" she asked desperately. The baker nodded and disappeared into the back room. He returned with a small cloth bag, like the kind used to carry lunch. "She left this behind." Sarah opened it and found a folded paper. It was a hand-drawn picture of a girl, a dog, and a field of sunflowers. At the bottom, written in shaky letters, were the words, "I miss home." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks as she clutched the paper to her chest. Her daughter was alive. Somewhere out there, Lily was alive and missing home. Sarah made a promise to herself that night. She would not stop searching. Not again. She had followed one breadcrumb. Now she would follow every single one until she found her daughter and brought her home. Sarah barely slept that night. She sat at the kitchen table with the bracelet in one hand and the drawing in the other. Her eyes scanned the picture over and over. The sunflowers in the background stood tall and bright. There was a small dog with floppy ears drawn beside the girl. Lily had always loved drawing. This style was hers. Sarah recognized the wobbly way she made clouds and the way the sun always had a smiling face. Every detail was a message. The dog looked like Rusty, their neighbor's golden retriever, who Lily used to play with when she was younger. Sarah stared at the picture for hours, trying to make sense of what Lily was trying to say. The words, "I miss home," rang in her ears. She wasn't just hiding. She wanted to be found. The next morning, Sarah returned to La Petite Grange to ask more questions. This time, she brought the police. The officers listened carefully as the baker explained everything again. He told them Lily had shown up nearly a year after she disappeared. She had arrived late one evening, cold and hungry. She said she was looking for work and didn't have a place to stay. The older baker and his wife had taken pity on her and let her sleep in the small staff room above the bakery. She had cleaned dishes, kneaded dough, and helped with deliveries. They said she never talked about where she came from or what had happened to her before arriving. She was quiet but kind, the baker's wife added. She loved helping with the bread, and she was so gentle with the younger workers. But she had nightmares sometimes. We'd hear her crying in her sleep. Sarah felt tears burn her eyes again. Her little girl had been out there suffering, and no one had known. The police took notes and promised to follow up. They said they would check shelters, surveillance footage, and reach out to nearby towns. But Sarah didn't wait. She felt a fire inside her, stronger than it had ever been. Her daughter had left clues. She was calling for help in the only way she knew how, and Sarah would not let that call go unheard. Sarah started driving from town to town, visiting every bakery, shop, and shelter. She showed Lily's drawing to anyone who would look. She asked if anyone had seen a girl with long brown hair, a blue dress, and a bracelet like the one she carried. Most people hadn't, but some thought they might have. A woman in a flower shop said she had seen a girl like that picking sunflowers from a nearby field about 2 weeks ago. A boy working at a gas station remembered someone similar buying a chocolate bar and petting a stray dog. Slowly, Sarah began piecing things together. One day, while sitting in her car parked beside a wide sunflower field just outside a small farming village, Sarah saw something. A dog ran across the edge of the field, chasing butterflies. It looked exactly like the dog in Lily's drawing. Same floppy ears, same golden fur. Her heart skipped a beat. She got out of the car and followed it at a distance, not wanting to scare it off. The dog ran toward a small wooden shed at the far edge of the field. Sarah approached quietly and peered through the cracks in the boards. Inside, on a pile of blankets, lay a girl, thin, dirty, but unmistakably Lily. Sarah gasped and stepped back. Her hands covered her mouth as tears poured down her cheeks. She couldn't believe it. It was her daughter, Lily, after 2 long years. She wanted to burst in, to scream her name, but she was afraid. What if she scared her? What if Lily ran again? So Sarah stayed hidden, watching. Lily sat up and began petting the dog, speaking softly to it. Sarah could hear her voice, gentle and tired. She looked older, sadder. This wasn't the same little girl who had smiled so brightly in the market 2 years ago. But she was here, alive. That was all that mattered. Sarah backed away and called the police. She waited in her car, heart pounding. Officers arrived quietly and surrounded the area. A female officer approached the shed slowly and spoke to Lily in a calm voice. Sarah couldn't hear the words, but she saw Lily's head turn. Then, after a few minutes, Lily stepped outside, eyes wide and scared. The officer pointed toward the road. Sarah stood there, shaking. When Lily saw her, she froze. Then her face crumpled. "Mom," she whispered. Sarah ran to her, arms open. Lily dropped the dog's leash and flew into her mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "I found you," Sarah whispered into her daughter's hair. I never stopped looking. The moment Sarah wrapped her arms around Lily, the world melted away. Nothing else mattered. For 2 long years, she had feared the worst, feared she might never see her daughter again. But now, Lily was here in her arms, real and alive. Sarah held her tightly, rocking her gently as if afraid she might disappear again if she let go. Lily cried into her mother's shoulder, and Sarah felt every sob shake through her tiny frame. The police gave them space, letting them stay in that embrace for as long as they needed. Eventually, Sarah gently pulled back and looked at her daughter's face. It was thinner than before, with dark circles under her eyes and tangled hair that looked like it hadn't been brushed in days. But behind the sadness, Sarah could still see Lily, the same girl with the bright smile and the love for crafts and croissants. The officers took Lily to a nearby medical center for a checkup. Sarah rode with her, never letting go of her hand. Doctors examined Lily, who was tired but mostly healthy. She had a few small injuries, scratches and bruises, but nothing serious. While they waited for results, a kind nurse brought Lily some warm soup and clean clothes. Sarah sat beside her, gently brushing Lily's hair with her fingers. "You're safe now, sweetheart," she whispered. "No more hiding." Lily looked up at her with red eyes and asked softly, "Are you mad at me?" Sarah shook her head, tears welling up again. "No, never. I'm just so happy you're here." Later that day, an officer gently asked if Lily could talk about what had happened. With her mother holding her hand, Lily nodded slowly. She explained that on the day she disappeared at the market, someone had called out to her from behind one of the stalls. It was a man she didn't recognize, but he spoke kindly and offered her a small stuffed animal, saying it had fallen from her bag. Lily had been confused. She didn't remember dropping anything. But when she stepped closer, the man grabbed her. Everything after that happened so fast. She was taken to a van and driven far away. The man had kept her in an old house for several weeks, but one night, Lily managed to escape when he forgot to lock a back door. She ran and ran until her legs gave out. She had wandered for days, hiding in forests and asking for help where she could. People gave her food, but didn't ask questions. Eventually, she made it to the town with the bakery. When she saw the warm lights and smelled the bread, she found the courage to ask for a job. She lied about her name, afraid she'd be taken back to the man if anyone found out who she really was. The bakers were kind and let her stay. For a while, she felt safe again, but the fear never left her. She had nightmares and felt guilty for not telling the truth. One day, she decided to leave, hoping to find her way home, but she got lost again. That's when she found the sunflower field and the dog, who followed her everywhere. She had been living in the shed ever since, drawing pictures and thinking about her mother every day. The police promised to investigate the man who had taken her and reopen the case. They now had enough information to search for him and bring him to justice. Sarah thanked the officers for their help, but her focus remained on Lily. She brought her home to their house, where the room had stayed exactly the same, stuffed animals still on the bed, drawings still on the wall, and a bracelet just like hers sitting on the nightstand. Lily walked slowly into her room, touched her things, and sat on her bed in silence. Sarah sat beside her and smiled gently. "You were so brave," she said. "You left us a trail. The bracelet, the drawing, you helped me find you." Lily smiled for the first time in years. "I didn't think anyone would see it," she said quietly, "but I hoped." In the weeks that followed, Sarah helped Lily heal, physically and emotionally. She arranged for counseling and therapy and made sure Lily was never alone unless she wanted to be. The town welcomed her back with open arms. Neighbors brought gifts, and her schoolmates wrote letters. Slowly, Lily began to smile more, eat better, and sleep peacefully. And every Sunday, Sarah and Lily returned to market, not to relive the past, but to create new memories. They visited the bakery stall again, and this time, Lily stood confidently beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. The baker from La Petite Grange came to visit once and brought a basket of croissants. He smiled warmly at Lily, who gave him a drawing in return of a bakery, a girl, a dog, and a field of sunflowers. This time, at the bottom, she wrote, "Thank you for giving me hope." The story of Lily's return became one that touched the hearts of many, reminding people that even when all seems lost, a small clue, a bracelet, and a loaf of bread can lead to miracles. And for Sarah and Lily, every new day was a chance to heal, together,